shouldn't fly to home. But if you wanna travel, then go alone. Yeah, what's the point in us if I never know? Yeah, if you're gonna leave, I'ma let you go. Away. I'm tired of the pain. Go away. I'm done with yesterday. Harder, harder. I fell where my demons dwell. My own little nightmare, I call it hell. Oh well, it's time to get back up. Climbing and climbing, I'm done with this ride, is what I tell myself, so I could feel something else. Yeah, I guess I had my bad days, but it doesn't mean I lost my style. Darling, where were you when my heart was on the ground? I thought time would prove that you would stick around. I guess time stood still, a king without his crown. Now I'm breaking and you're faking, girl. You never made a sound. Away. I'm tired of the pain. Go away. I'm done with yesterday. Harder, harder. If you wanna live and you shouldn't fly to home. But if you wanna travel, then go alone. Yeah, what's the point in us if I never know? Yeah, if you're gonna leave, I'ma let you go. If you wanna live and you shouldn't fly to home. But if you wanna travel, then go alone. Yeah, what's the point in us if I never know? Yeah, if you're gonna leave, I'ma let you go. Harder, harder.
Alrighty, everybody, welcome to the 5th week of the EDL Waveline. I'm actually joined by Matt Pizza this week. This guy has tried to miss out on like how many streams now. Imagine having a life, bro. That's insane. I'm so sad. My Friday's ruined. I got invited to an ARAM by Golden Guardians Chime, but I had to turn it down to be here. So, unfortunately, I'm kidding. Fortunately, we are here today. I'm joined by Matt Pizza, Para, and Clutch. Yeah, so Matt Pizza, apparently you've been busy, and how has your life been, my friend?
I have, a little insight, on what I have to do. I got back a test. So last Monday I had a test I needed to do, so that's why I wasn't there for the people that watched the EGL version of the Waveline. Got the test back, got a 50%. Thought my life was ending, all that fun, like what did I do, what's wrong with me, and all that fun stuff. Realized that that's actually a B plus. And then I went to Colorado happy. So, went to Colorado, smoked some weed, didn't really enjoy it. But anyway, we're back.
Whoa!
Yo, Matt Pizza.
Matt Pizza,
Yeah.
Calm down there.
relax. Relax.
Guys, I'm giving you a quick the SparkNotes version of my life so far.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, those are the pretty much the only highlights I had. So yeah, it was a busy week last week, but going forward, I should be here back more consistently. So you guys get to hear my voice, whether you like it or you hate it.
Well, for everyone that doesn't want to hear Matt Pizza's voice, if you go to the community content channel, Wingman, actually the name makes so much sense. Dude is actually like really helping us out. He made these EDL week 5 predictions. We had a lot of people help out with stats. The community is just, I don't know, it's really amazing. Really big thank you to everyone that does that kind of stuff. So check it out. There's like cool graphs and lots of mathematical things. I'm sure Matt Pizza, as an engineering student, would love those. But
Yeah,
yeah, as he says,
yeah.
engineering student. But we're gonna move on. We're gonna look at what happened last week in EDL. We had a 2-1 for Revolution against the Snack Bears. We had G&E Pearl 2-1 the Donut Shop Chocolate. We had AH Tyranny on stream go against BDE Lucid, take that 2-1. And then we had TD Syndicate get another FF win, this time against Glacial Phantom. So if we just circle back round to 2-1 Revolution against Snack Bears, we're going to start at the top of my people here at the list. Clutch, you said 2-1 actually for Revolution, so you were correct in your predictions last week.
Yeah, so Rev, again, what I said last week is I feel like Snack Bears and Rev are actually very close in skill. I think they honestly are some of the best teams in the league. Rev and Snack Bears, same skill level, but the difference between Rev and Snack Bears is Rev pick easy to execute comps, while Snack Bears pick very hard to execute comps. And at the end of the day, I said if you just pick something easier than the other team, you're most likely going to end up winning. Well, lo and behold, Rev takes the series 2-1. And Snack Bears, again, very unique style. They put their support on things like the Zoe. I've seen him play the Xerath. Plays a bunch of these like mid laners at the support role and uses that to try to hard carry the game. Now, it's a very unique strategy, and clearly for the Snack Bears, it's worked. They're 2-2. They're a very solid team, but up against these better teams, you've got to find easier ways to play the game because they are a good team. They have some very good players, and they can be the best team. Like they can contend with AH Tyranny at the top, but when you're kind of making it like you're kneecapping yourself in draft by picking these super hard champions that you have to pop off or you lose, that's why I think, Snack Bears aren't where they want to be. And for the side of Revolution, Revolution, super solid team. They're the mini AH Tyranny, is what me and Tex have said on the the after show for EDL that they run over there. Tex and Leper Koopa. But
Yeah,
we've called
shout out still to all the community content. Love it here.
We call Rev, the mini AH Tyranny. They're basically AH Tyranny, but off brand. It's like when you get like Coke or something, and then there's the off brand Coca-Cola, and you're like, what the hell is this?
Actually,
That's
bro,
basically
don't hate on my boy
is.
Pepsi like that.
That's basically what Revolution is. One player I think that everyone's going to be talking about for the side of Revolution is their top laner, Chicky Pie. I think Chicky Pie is the best top in the league, or no, second best. I forgot about Downfall. That guy's correct. But Chicky Pie definitely right up there. Where Downfall plays a lot of these carries and carries through Downfall. I mean, they do carries with those picks. Chicky Pie's the opposite. They play these tanks and they still perform and are one of the best tops in the league. So Rev ended up taking the 2-1. I think they just picked easier to execute comps. While Snack Bears, again, they're going for this like hype style, very unique picks that end up getting them their wins.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you. So, Para, you weren't on the show last week, but if you're looking at a team like Snack Bears where they were really liking, so especially that second game, they B1 Kaisa and they ended up flexing it mid. So when you're going against the Snack Bears, what do you do to prepare against them? Do you think like, oh no, we're just gonna play our easier comps, or you're gonna let them have their, like their tricks out of the hat where they pull out Zoe and throw it into the bot lane, or they actually had a game I think last week where they put Ezreal in the mid lane, right? So are these things that you should just learn to expect, or should you just kind of let them do whatever and still stick to your own game plan?
I think you kind of let them do whatever because there's not much you can do if they want to flex Ezreal mid or something like that. But red side is probably very important against a team like that because you get to see all of their picks and can have like a better understanding, even though they might still do something like out of the ordinary. But I think red side is very important against a team like that.
Yeah, I agree. On red, if you're really scared of like an Ezreal, Kaisa, or like Zoe flex, just ban it. Like if you're on blue,
Yeah.
whatever. But on red, yeah, let it go through. You'll see where it's going, and then you can adjust accordingly. But Matt Pizza, my question to you: between these two teams, Revolution has been showing a lot of promise, I think, throughout the season. They're now 3-1 in the season here. So going against a team like Snack Bears, where do you kind of see them ending up in the standings?
Just trying to get like a quick understanding of what's happening, because like obviously a week break of me like doing other stuff. Coming back to this, I'm just looking at this, right? And I think I expected to see like top half of the standings, right? I expected to be maybe like between second to third. I expect um Rev to be, because like Clutch said, right? Looking at the match histories, they're just running really easy to execute comps, right? Like I'm looking at these comps and like they're picking Ornn, they're picking Ornn. Like Chicky Pie, I have respect for you for just manning up and being like, you know what? I don't care. If my team wants to win, I'll make it happen. And he picks in the Ornn. Doesn't matter the matchup. He's just doing it. He's just like, yeah, I'll just be the tank bot,
Yeah,
get
so
everything, and
their next 3 weeks, including this one. So this week they're going against Glacial Phantom, and
Mhm.
then after that they have TD Syndicate and AH Tyranny. So those are the two teams that are actually above them in the standings right now. TD Syndicate being 3-1, and AH Tyranny being 4-0. So do you see them kind
Yeah.
of dropping below like the top three after that, or do you see them still trying to fight for that spot in their top three?
I think I don't know if they'll be able to beat AH Tyranny, um, but I do think that they have a shot against the other teams. I think I would expect them to like I said, like between second and third place, depending on how they play their matches. But I don't know if they're like, I guess they have enough synergy to overcome AH Tyranny as a wall, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're a really scary looking team, and like just going against a team that is undefeated is really nerve-wracking.
So then my last question for you, Matt Pizza, is for on the other side for Snack Bears, right? Snack Bears this week they're going against TD Syndicate on stream, and
Yep.
then next week they're going against Genie Pearl, and then in that last week they're going against BDE Lucid. So I feel like Snack Bears here is kind of showing that they're a middle of the pack team, currently 2-2, right? Going against teams that are, TD being above them, and then Genie currently being, sharing that same record, and then BDE Lucid also sharing that same record. So going against these middle of the pack teams, do you think Snack Bears would be able to push themselves above or below these teams?
Well, with the unique playstyle that they have, right? With like the carry support that they've been showing and that we've been talking about, right? With the Nico, the Zeref, and stuff like that. I think that if the teams don't prepare for it, they don't like come up with a game plan ahead of time, being like, oh, he's gonna pick a carry support, and he's gonna carry to that. Let's try to figure out a plan to deal with it. If they don't have that plan, then I do think that Snack Bears will just come out of nowhere and like take the lead and be able to win the games. Um, but I do think some teams will prepare, right? Namely, I believe you said BDE Lucid
Yep.
was one of the
Is
matches.
their
So yeah,
week 7 matchup?
yeah, I think BDE Lucid will be able to prepare, and they will like at least pose a huge challenge for Snack Bears. So I'm gonna say I kind of expect them to be like mm, maybe fifth to sixth around there ish. That's what I would say, based on just like looking at the matches, right, and seeing how they play and seeing like what's been happening so far. Granted, this is a very on the fly take, so don't quote me on this or anything, okay?
Nah,
but
bro, they win every single week and then they end 5-2 and they prove you wrong.
yeah. But yeah, that's what I believe so far.
Okay, so if we look at that next series, we're looking at G&E Pearl, that 2-1 TDS Chocolate. So when we were looking at this, especially when we saw G&E on stream, we talked about it over and over again, that Renekton support in the bottling, Renekton Callista, and we were talking about their new coach and a lot of new talent that we were seeing from G&E. I think the thing was we were expecting a very clean 2-0 for G&E. I wouldn't say our expectations are low for the donut shop, but I would say that they really haven't had a chance to find their footing and really haven't been able to prove themselves. So my question for you, Para, looking at G&E, what does this say for them dropping a game? Do you think it's like are they not as clean as we think they are, or is the donut shop better than we think they are?
I think any team can win a game, especially at this level. Like someone's gonna make a macro call that's like goes wrong. Something, anything can go wrong. So I feel like them dropping a game isn't like anything huge, considering they still got like they still got the win, right? I mean, they just dropped the game, but
Yeah.
I think dropping one game isn't the end of the world. Doesn't signify anything, in
And
my opinion.
okay, so then my question then for you, Clutch, is as a G&E fan, as we all know, what do you think this says? Dropping a game against the donut shop.
I mean, I think obviously the donut shop and Glacial they're at the bottom, right? They're two of the bottom teams in the league. But I feel like these teams, despite being at the bottom, can still take games off of some of these like middle tier teams that are going to be in like the lower bracket. Like I think it's a very big possibility that they could end up taking games. Like even Glacial had took a game off BDE, if you remember earlier in the season, with their roster. Now the roster has changed like a million times, but they still did take a game, and it wasn't really like super concerning. So I mean, yes, G&E dropped the game to TDS Chocolate, but I think for G&E, it's more the fact that they got the win, and for TDS Chocolate, them picking up a game is like absolutely massive because now maybe the confidence starts getting going, and they make the miracle run. But for the side of Genie, I think they're just happy they got the win because again they started off 0-2, now they're 2-2. So I think they're just happy they won. I don't really think it matters too much. I also like Age Tyranny. They're winning like 2-1 almost every week, but they're still like hands down the best team in the league. So I think dropping a game here and there, again, not the end of the world, but we'll see. Genie Pearl this week, they've got a real test. So we'll see if they're an actual contender, if they're a pretender.
Contender or pretender? Yeah, I'm gonna like have to take that line, man.
Yeah, that's a good line.
Yeah, Matt Pizza. Yeah, we know
Uh-oh.
that you weren't there for last week, but
Mhm.
also as a G&E fan, going into these next 3 weeks. So this week they're against BDE, and then next
Mhm.
week they're against Snack Bears, and then they finish off their season against TD Syndicate. So they've already gone against AH Tyranny. So my question for you then, Matt Pizza, going like being a G&E fan and seeing them go against these next 3 teams, right? Where do you see G&E? Do you think they make the playoffs? If you think about it, you only need to be in the top 6. It's quite
Top six.
forgiving. It's quite forgiving out of 8 teams. So two
What
and
you
two.
know what makes you think I'm a G&E fan? I never said I was a G&E fan. I mean you're not wrong,
Stop
but
coping, Matt. Just answer the question.
um, but if do they make playoffs? I'm gonna say yes that they do make playoffs because, like you said, top six it's very forgiving. And right now, with TS Chocolate and Glacial Phantom at the bottom, both having like FF the game, like that's really detrimental to their standings. So I think that since they have also gone against some of the tougher teams, right? They've already gotten through that part. They have like these middle of the pack teams now, and after like Clutch said, after they have their first 2 losses, they're on a roll right now. They won their next 2 games, and I think with that comes a confidence boost. And hopefully, like I said, it doesn't go to their head, but hopefully it like just inspires them to like play better and be able to work together, so that they can, I guess, squeak by into the playoffs. I'm like looking at this right now. They only have 3 more matches, and I'm gonna say they have a high probability of making playoffs, right? I'm gonna say a very high probability. I didn't do statistics. I'm not, I'm an engineering student, like you guys said. I don't know stats. What are those? I just know funny numbers, but I think they have
My
a really
guy
good
has
chance.
the stats role, was mostly doing stats for season 1 and season 2 of EDL.
Okay,
Okay.
guys, listen. Those were some cursed days. I don't want to talk about. I don't want to talk about me just crunching numbers.
You didn't
That
even
was
give
awful.
me the numbers. I was like,
I
if anything, man, just do the stats for these two teams, and then didn't do them. I was like, okay.
I did it for. Listen, it was a lot of numbers. Brain boom.
Okay. So if we're looking at that next series, we had a 2-1 for AH Tyranny against BDE Lucid. So this was the streamed match of the game of the week. BDE Lucid, I remember taking that first game, and then AH Tyranny, I think, took the next two. Clutch, correct me if I'm wrong, but AH Tyranny, I think, showed a few signs of weakness, especially in that first game. BDE Lucid was just so proactive over the map. It was just like bloodfest, I think, overall. BDE took a very commanding game number 1. So, Clutch, do you think BDE Lucid is that team? So, currently 2-2. Do you think they kind of squeak themselves into that top 3 spot?
So I think obviously, again, top 4, you're an upper bracket. You get an extra life if you lose, right? That's how it works. 5 and 6, you're in the lower bracket and you only get 1 life basically. You lose, you're out. There's no second chances for 5 and 6. Now, if you were to ask me what the top 4 teams in the league currently are, yeah, I think BD's top number 4. I think they're the solid number 4 team. I think it's basically AH Tyranny's up there. TD Syndicate's up there, Rev is up there, and BDE. I think those are the 4 teams at the top. And I think if anyone's going to kind of break into that top 4, it'd probably be Snack Bears. It's not saying Genie can't. I mean, we're going to see today, obviously, Genie plays BDE, and that's going to be a massive matchup for top 4. But I think there's a solid top 4, and then you kind of have these 5 and 6 teams really knocking at the door contesting. But yeah, I think BDE top 4. I think they're still kind of trying to figure out what they want to do, I feel like, in play style, because it sort of seems like they're a little bit all over the place in some of their games, which is a bit concerning. Now, they did take a game off of AH Tyranny, and I mean, obviously, you probably expect that. It's BDE, top 4. But I need to see them get back on track. I need to see them take a commanding win this week over G&E Pearl, and it'll solidify my opinion that this team is top 4. Top 3? I don't know about top 3 yet, but top 4 for sure.
Yeah, so then, as someone who was there to watch the stream with me, who would you say was the MVP for both teams?
So for the side of AH Tyranny, I mean, it has to be Downfall, right? I mean, we don't have a league MVP till playoffs. There's no regular season league MVP. That's not a thing here. But he definitely, in my eyes, would be the front runner. This guy's been having an insane split against every single top laner. He's basically just been running them over. So for AH Tyranny, I think it's Downfall. That guy's been playing so well this season, and definitely going to see how he plays the rest of the season. For the side of BDE, at least for that series, I'm probably going to end up giving it to the jungler, BDE Creed. I think he had a very good series.
BDE Apathy, and then he's changed it for the stream, and then I think he's back to Apathy now.
Yeah, he had a really good series in the jungle, and even in the losses that BDE had, where game 3 was a little bit one-sided, he still looked decent. Like he still looked good. So I think this team really needs to play around their jungler. I think their jungler is very, very good, and if you give him the picks, give him the resources, he can for sure carry. And again, BDE is still kind of trying to figure out what they want to do. And hopefully they're going to be able to solidify this play style before playoffs, because if you don't have a play style down before playoffs, I mean, it's looking really, really doomed, especially if you're in the lower bracket. Again, one and done. You lose, you're out. So I definitely need to see BDE kind of pick up a play style, and I think it starts with their jungler.
I'm going to have to agree with you. Like, looking even at the draft and the way that the games kind of panned out, the game number 1, they played a very strong pick comp, a lot of meta champions. They pulled out that Ahri, that Zeri, right? These champions that are just, and Hecarim especially, these champions that are just really strong overall. And then we saw them kind of inch away from it slowly as the games, went on. Where in game number 3, they had something completely different. They had a Kennen, a Viego, Tryndamere, and then Seraphine Sona, right? So like you were saying, that I feel like that playstyle started to warp, as that series went on, and then they're like, well, we won with this, but then we're changing how we play, and I felt like if you won that way in that first game, then, I think the way that competitive should be is, beat them with something, try and play it again, wait until the team can show you that they can beat you with it, and then change your strategy, right? So then my question for you, Para, is looking at these two teams where you have Lengmo playing stuff like Victor, all these really strong scaling champions. Like the next game too, he played Corki, right? I think Lengmo was a huge, huge contributor to those two wins, especially for H Tierney. So my question then for you, Para, is when you're BDE and you see these scaling mid laners, and then they opted to scaling themselves, right? They have that Seraphine Sona, Tryndamere, right? So when you're BDE, what do you do to beat AH Tyranny? Do you just focus everything on that mid lane, right? Or do you try and take down Downfall, like this person who's very strong at split pushing, playing that Fiora, playing the Aatrox, and becoming just unstoppable in the side lanes?
I definitely think you handshake the scaling mid, but I think Corki at this level of play is like broken because no one knows how to deal with package or position properly. Like usually you play against package but having like a really good go button, just against poke in general, you need like a really good go button to where you can force any fight, which stops Corki's value and forces him to use package early or stops him from going in. Also, I think you need to put pressure top, but don't like actually just be hovering your top. Don't look to make plays because if his jungler's hovering and they have the better top than you, then it could go bad. Obviously depends on matchups and stuff, but I feel like to beat a team that's better than you need like really good coaching to have understanding of the game and an easier to play draft, which takes away variables. But if they're better than you as players with mechanically, you want to take away as many variables as possible.
Yeah, I mean, looking at everything like that, I have to agree. So, Matt Pizza, then, my last question for you is between these two teams, right? You have that scaling mid or that like menace in the side lane. Which one do you think is harder to deal with? Do you think that BDE was just as a team they could be dealing with it? Or do you think AH Tyranny is being, that uh, dominating team that they are right now, 4-0 in the season, just because they have a playstyle that people are having difficulty beating?
I personally, I think it's definitely the scaling mid team that's like really hard to play against. Just because like sure, you have a split pusher, right? And like you can answer him and it's like you'll be able to deal with him, right? A scaling mid, it's like when it's just like when you understand that like as time flies by, right? If you're not proactive, if you're not doing things on the map, if you're not getting leads, there's just this sense of like, oh, the mid laner is just gonna get stronger. The more CS he gets, the stronger he's gonna get, the more of a threat he's gonna be. And like looking at the comps, right? Like you said, Lengmo, playing these scaling mid laners is really terrifying, right? He was 7-1 on the Victor. He was on the Corki 7-1 as well. Like he just for him, he knows how he wants to play, right? He just wants to scale. He just wants to take it easy. And it's just that sense of like waiting for the right opportunity to strike and turn the tides of the game, I think is really hard to play against because you don't know when the fight's gonna go south, right? Like you can have a good idea, but you don't exactly know when it's gonna be, when everyone's like in sync and just have scaled up.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, there's a lot that rides on it too. It becomes like, can we actually? Because even if you get that lead in the early game, can you actually transition it to end the game, right?
Hmm.
So, I mean, especially at this level of play, you don't even know. Sometimes it's just pick Clown Fiesta and then hope for the best, and then you'll have the bigger and brighter Fiesta than the other team, and then you'll win. Um, it's something that I think a lot of teams are trying to work on, still having a set play style, because even if you do, you kind of just go into every week and then It's like, hey guys, what do you want to play? What do we want to pick? I don't know. And then, going into each week like that would be so different compared to a team is like, okay, we're good at like I feel like that's what Tierney does. They're like we know that give downfall something he can split push on, give something everyone else that we can play as a strong 4-man unit that's strong. Then that's how you have success, and then we can win. But from all the other teams, I feel like they just don't have that clear identity, and that's why Tierney has that 4-0 record right now. But I think we'll move on. We're gonna look at Week 5 predictions for Revolution versus Glacial Phantom. Unfortunately, it's a little one-sided. We're gonna start with Clutch. You said 2-0 for Revolution.
Yeah, I said 2-0. I'll keep it short and sweet. Rev has looked like a solid team again. Mini A Tyranny. Glacial, we didn't even know their roster coming into this week. Now we do. But it's a new roster, and I don't know. I feel like Rev is just too good of a team to end up losing to Glacial. Now, one player I want to point out on Glacial, their mid laner coming in. I don't know how to say that name. It's like Nauki or something. This guy's actually pretty good. I don't know where Glacial finds their mid laners, but Harry McDonald's was very good, and this guy coming in looks like a very, very good mid laner. So maybe Glacial can end up taking a game. It would be very unlikely, I think, for them to take a game. And definitely the matchup to watch for me is going to be the mid lane. It's going to be Nauki versus Amazing Spice. I think that's the matchup to watch. How good is Glacial's mid laner that they brought in? He looks like their best player. We don't know. We've never seen him play. At least this split, he played with Hive Mind Gaming in ZGG, I believe. So he does have some competitive experience, but he hasn't played in EDL. So how is he going to do? Like, how is the new roster going to work? We don't know. So coming in, I think Rev for sure is the favored team. Last thing I want to say is that Wingman said in his little community content that he wrote, the chances, according to his little formula thing, I don't know what it is, but the chances of Rev winning are 90.8%, and the chances of Glacial are 9.2%. And I will quote him. He said, the odds are stacked against Glacial in this one, but March Madness has begun. And if the St. Peter's Peacocks can defeat mighty Blue Blood Kentucky, then anything can happen. Glacial could end up winning, and it could be like the biggest upset we've seen. So who knows?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. Like, I just think that Rev has just so much more experience, so much more time together as a team than Glacial Phantom, obviously making roster changes, having to FF, and stuff like that. So, that's kind of why I cracked it down to a 2-0 for Revolution. Also, I'm a Tex fan. Tex is just, a super nice guy. How can I not support the dude? Matt Pizza, you said 2-1 for Revolution. What makes you think that Revolution is going to drop a game to Glacial Phantom?
I mean, it's just kind of like just 2-0ing a team is like the chance of you 2-0ing a team when it's like the middle of the pack team. It's not gonna happen, right? Like Rev, as good as they are, right? Their mistakes do happen, right? Sometimes you're not on things, sometimes you get caught out, and it's just like little things happen, and those little things just turn into like a snowball, and the other team, whether they want to capitalize or not, just magically just get a lead. The objective bounties are up, so they're like, oh, we got an objective bounty, oh, we got a dragon, and it's like just those small mistakes can turn the tide of the game. And like no team is perfect, right? Like there are gonna be mistakes. So I'm hesitant to say 2-0, especially since like I don't know everything that's going on in EDL, but I'm gonna say 2-1. Definitely Rev favored though.
Yeah, so Matt Pizza Glacial Phantom is currently 0-4 in the series
Well,
standings.
okay, I more so meant like Rev
Middle of
is
the
like
pack team.
I meant well, Rev is the middle of a pack team. All right, that's what I meant. Okay,
Is top 3 middle of the pack, Matt Pizza?
yeah,
Okay, they're
it's
they're
close
not
enough.
really. Wait, see, what Map BT means is not really 0-4 because they've been playing with different rosters.
Oh
So
yeah.
Yeah,
like, it's not like these players aren't necessarily 0-4. That's what he meant.
I like that mentality, honestly. Just, those players, the old ones, they're 0-4, but us, we're not 0-4.
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay, so well, Para, if you're looking at these standings, and knowing the probabilities just mathematically of Glacial Phantom, you still said 2-1 for Revolution. Do you think this is just because of like inconsistencies, or are these the roster changes that Glacial Phantom just needed to make?
To be honest, I think Rev is obviously a better team. I don't think there's like many people that will question that, but I don't know if it's like I think it's a higher, in my opinion, I think it's a higher chance that they drop a game than that they two of them. Yeah, I think like something can go wrong. Like what can go wrong will go wrong.
That's true. Eventually, you'll have like some random like 40, 50-minute banger of a game, and then
Yeah.
suddenly like someone just gets caught walking in the jungle, and then oh, there goes Elder. Oh, our Nexus
Yep.
exploded.
Yeah. Definitely things like that can happen. So
That's fair. You account for those kind of random things, and that's how people get perfect pick'ems, honestly. If you just go over like the, oh no, this team's better on paper, they should just win, like, doesn't always happen.
yeah.
So I have to agree. I can see Rev maybe slipping up, dropping a game, but overall, I do think Rev is just that cleaner team. Will pull ahead in this series. So we're gonna look at that next one, which is BDE Lucid versus G&E Pearl. So Para, as a BDE alumni, looking at their matchup versus G&E Pearl. So BDE, do you think just this roster is just overall better than G&E's, even though that, we've been seeing G&E have kind of a better standing, better grip of their playstyle and stuff like that, but do you think BDE just is just better?
I think BD is better right now, but I think G&E is like showing really good signs that they're becoming better and can like I think by playoffs they'll be a really good like an established team. But I feel like BD will get better, but I feel like only slightly better. But I feel like they've kind of hit their potential for right now, unless like one of their players makes a breakthrough. But
That's fair. I kind of have to agree that BDE kind of feels like they've already shown all their cards, that like they've had to really push themselves up until this point of the season. Obviously, going against Tyranny last week, and this week going against Genie Pearl, who we've been kind of hyping up since then. So I think that BDE versus Genie, I think this matchup really comes down to that bot lane, Lethal and Tempo versus Ominous Penguin and HViz. I think. Sorry if I said that wrong. I just think these two bot lanes are a really big contender for just some of the best bot lanes I've seen so far in EDL this split. I think it really comes down to how volatile they can get and how much power they choose. So I also said 2-1 for BDE. I have to agree with you, Para, that BDE right now seems like the better team. Even, like, they took a game off Tyranny last week. And, that's not something that just anyone can do. So I think that going into this series, BDE just I think has the better what's the word, like momentum, that tempo going into
yeah,
this. So I agree with you. 2-1 is my prediction. So Clutch, you said 2-1 for BDE as well. Aside from the bot lanes, right? What do you think puts BDE ahead of G&E this series?
So, I think in this series, BDE is. I think the reason why they're going to win is across the board. I think they're just slightly better than Genie Pearl. And the past 2 weeks, Genie Pearl has been getting wins. Yes, they beat TDS Chocolate. I believe they also ended up beating Glacial, which were like obviously the two teams they needed to beat to be able to make the playoffs. The only problem is like they've played those two teams. They haven't been tested for 2 weeks. It's kind of like TD Syndicate where they've basically like not played in 2 weeks. Genie Pearl, on the other hand, just hasn't been tested. I feel it's not. I mean, I'm kind of undervaluing TDS Chocolate and I guess Glacial Phantom, but Glacial Phantom has a million roster changes, right? So like you can't really say this is a full team. I think the team Glacial Phantom that they have now is actually pretty good. But TDS Chocolate, again, they even had some roster moves. And I feel like Genie Pearl were playing some of these bottom teams. And despite, yes, they were winning, they did drop a game to TDS Chocolate. Now, again, I said it's not really concerning, but like for them to end up taking down BDE, they would have to massively improve because I feel like BDE is like the sure favorite. I feel like if you want the safe bet, you're just going to take BDE. They won it all last season. They look like a solid team this season. They don't look like the best in the league, but they look like a solid team. They took a game off Tyranny, so they look good. Now, the reason why I have BDE 2-1 is I think G&E Pearl can take a game. I don't think BDE is going to clean 2-0. We've seen BDE that they have been just dropping games in series. They're not closing out series 2-0. It's 2-1 almost every single week. So I'm going to stick with that. I think BDE is going to take the series. They're going to fumble a game because they haven't been clean at closing out the series. And I think it's going to be a real banger. I think this is a huge match for both these teams because they're both 2-2. And whoever wins this most likely is going to be eyeing that top 4. So definitely going to be a banger game. But in the end, I think BDE is just slightly going to edge them out.
Yeah, and I mean, like we were saying before, BDE kind of fell apart towards the end of that last week's series where Tyranny just had a lead, ran with it, and BDE couldn't really find a way back into the game. So I feel like this kind of relies on Ritz to really draft for them and play to that, or something that G&E can execute. And, we saw BDE lose that way last week. I'd like to see what G&E can do this week, regarding that and knowing that. So Matt Pizza, you are the only one to say BDE pulls out a 2-0 against, one of your favorite teams, G&E.
Yeah, so when I was doing my predictions, I was just like, oh, 2-1 BD because I believe in Genie, and I looked at everyone and I'm like, okay, guys, I want to be different, I want to be special.
Well,
So
if
I
you
was
wanted
just
to
like,
be special, you could have voted for G&E.
okay, yeah, but I did not get my shipment of copium. Okay,
Uh-huh.
it was delayed, so I was still stuck around with BD, and it said 2-0. I guess one of my main reasons, right, was looking at last week's game, right? BD's bot lane, they just essentially just neutralized the other bot lane, right? They played Seraphine that I feel like could neutralize Genie, right? And without Gienie's bot lane getting ahead, I don't think Genie will be able to like overcome the hurdle, right? Especially since they have since BD has the rest of the team, right? They have other players that could fill that carry spot. Whereas G&E, they don't necessarily have like the set like, okay, if Omnis Penguin isn't ahead, we'll have our mid laner as the backup carry and like just like fallback plans like that, right? So I think that was one of the other main reasons why I was like, you know what, I'll say 2-0 BDE this time. This time.
This time. All right. So, Matt Pizza, you're really testing them, You're like
Yeah.
giving you just a little bit of faith, but just a little bit. Just that sample.
Nothing too crazy yet.
Well, with that, we're going to look at that next series. Another one-sided one where we have everyone voting for Tyranny versus the Donut Shop Chocolate. Matt Pizza, I'll just let you start again here. Being the only different one again at the very top. 2-1 for Tyranny against Donut Shop Chocolate.
I mean, yeah, like I think AH Cherry, they've been 2-1ing a lot. They, like Clutch said previously, they have been dropping a game. Now that isn't really worrying, right? Like they could fumble a game, and it's like it to a team like AH Tyranny, they might be trying out different things in like the game that they lost, right? Granted, I didn't get a chance to go through all of the matches and actually make sure what I'm saying is correct. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, that I'm not smoking copium. But they could be trying out different things, right? Coming up with more ideas. So drumming game isn't really that bad, and I think they might try things against TDS that may or may not work, right? So that's one of the reasons why I think they'll fumble a game to TDS, even though that TDS is one of the uh like slightly worse teams in the league.
Yeah, I think my biggest point to watch is definitely that top lane downfall versus Leper. So Para,
Yeah.
as a fellow top laner, we're gonna ignore the other one in the call. Because
What?
he's just gonna be like, oh my god, Ornn this, Ornn that, and we get it, Ornn fanboy. That's why I sent you the merch. I showed you that Riot Games, they actually made an Ornn figure, and I was like, Matt Pizza, when's your birthday? Apparently it passed already, and I was like, here you go, bro, and I sent him a link. But Para, looking at Tyranny and the Donut Shop Chocolate, you're looking at downfall, like rising star. I think like definitely a gold level player that is just kind of smurfing on everybody in the league versus Leopard Koopa, who is, the king of IBS, as they'd say, one of those long-standing IBS players. I wouldn't say he's peaked. If he's listening, bro, I'm not saying you peaked, bro. I'm just saying that he's been here for a very long time. So how do you see these two matching up?
I mean, obviously, like it's been like Downfall's kind of been on a roll, and he has huge momentum with his team. And I think TDS hasn't really gotten their confidence, even though they got a game, they haven't really on their confidence really. But AH has so much momentum and confidence in each one of them, and Downfall has been playing really well against most top laners. But I mean, we did see something similar last split with like two teams that had dominating top laners, but they didn't go far in playoffs. At least in EDL.
So when you're
But I
looking
think
at these, then, like, okay, sorry, but what I'm going at here is when you're looking at these teams and you see the two top laners and you're saying, okay, yeah, they had winning top laners, they had these really strong top sides, but they couldn't win. So are you saying between these two teams, does it become like, is there an avenue for the Donut Shop Chocolate to, take a win against Abyssal Haven, where, there's just another role that seems to pop off, be more important than the island?
I think I think our top laner is better and has a lot of impact, and will probably have more impact. But I feel like if your jungler is really good and you have like a really good coaching, I think you can like make top lane not matter as much if you like can strategize properly for it.
Top lane matters
Or
so much though, bro.
I think yeah, it can go both ways. Jungle can either like affect top lane in a very negative way or in a
Yeah,
very positive way. It's one of the reasons I don't even play top lane anymore. But jungle is just better.
that's true. If you guys want to win, just play jungle, man, honestly. So,
Yeah.
Clutch, you're also on that 2-0 AH tyranny train. It's just something that, like, is it just the, oh no, AH is just better, one and done, like, just close the book, end the chapter? Or is there something else?
Yeah, it's mainly I think just Age Tyranny across the board is better. And one thing I'll point out before I'll stop talking, because I'll be very quick. So Donut Shop and Glacial have to win out to make the playoffs. They can't lose a single game. I mean, or they can lose a game, but they can't lose a series. So they have to literally win for 3 weeks in a row. And TDS has to play Age Tyranny and beat them, which I've seen crazier things happen, but it would be like absolutely insane if they didn't. Um, I just think Edge Tyranny's too good of a team, and the reason also why TDS and Glacial have to win out is because they ended up FFing a week, and if they go into a tiebreaker, you don't get points for FFing. So they would actually lose the tiebreaker, which means you can't tie a team; you lose the tiebreaker. So they literally have to win out. And I'm sorry, TDS Chocolate and Glacial fans. I'm sure you're in the chat somewhere. I don't think you guys are going to make it. Now, does this mean you stop showing up? No, because you can still crush other teams' hopes and dreams, which is just as fun. But
Just as fun, yep.
I think Age Tyranny is just too good. They're the number one team in the league for a reason. They're 4-0. This is not week 1 where there's a bunch of 1-0 teams and you're like, all right, this is the best team in the league. No, this is week 5. Age Tyranny has shown they're the best, and TDS Chocolate has struggled. I think it's just a free 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, like, Donut Shop has to really pull out some Hail Mary that, like, okay, we need to do something different. There has to be, like, a huge change in either their playstyle or what champions they're picking, or something even bigger than that, right? Like, the team has to have, like, maybe they just scrimmed, like, maybe they scrimmed, like, every single day of the week up until this point. I'm not saying that's what they had to have done, but I feel like there has to be something that's really big. So I'm kind of on that same page where 2-0 for AH. It just seems like it's too much of a difference. And I mean, even just series scores. You're 4-0 versus the 0-4 team. It seems a little rough. But with that, we're gonna look at that last end stream match of the week. It is Snack Bears versus TD Syndicate. So, Para, you're the only person to guess 2-0 for Snack Bears.
Um, I pulled a Matt Pizza here. It's a bit of a hot take,
A little bit of a hot take.
a little bit, but I think the crazy picks. Maybe like they're not comfortable with the matchups, and maybe them knowing the matchup, like, and I mean, we saw Faker pull off Kaisa mid. I don't think anyone here is Faker's skill level, but maybe it works.
Yeah, Faker has to be onto something. So then Snack Bears they've got to be onto something too. I agree.
Yeah.
I think it's really, really big if Snack Bears does take this series off of TD Syndicate. I think overall TD Syndicate, we haven't really gotten to see them play too much, getting 2 FF wins. So I actually can imagine them being a little rusty going into this series. Unless, like, maybe they're scrimming a whole bunch. And maybe they're scrimming in low of the series matches, right? Instead of like, oh, hey guys, we just get to take the night off. Yay. Instead of, okay, guys, we don't have a series, we just should scrim instead. But I just think that overall TD Syndicate has shown a lot from the weeks that we have seen them play, especially that first week against AH Tyranny, taking game off of them as well. I think making I think that just makes TD Syndicate a lot stronger on paper than we are really looking. It gives you like, oh no, they got 2 free wins from FFs and blah blah blah. But no, I think just from what they've already shown us, I think that's more than enough for me to give them that 2-1. Obviously, we're playing in EDL, the development league. Anything can happen. Maybe, they have one random pick that catches them off guard, and that pick wins them the game, so Snack Bears can take a game off of them. But I think overall, TD Syndicate does take that 2-1. So Clutch and Matt Pizza, both of you also said a 2-1. So Clutch, my question for you, you're looking at TD Syndicate, a team that has 2 free FF wins, versus Snack Bears, who have been fighting like tooth and nail for every single win they have right now. So what do you think Snack Bears is looking to do going into TD Syndicate this week?
Yeah, so Snack Bears are ending up swapping a bit of their roster around. Now, before you say, oh my God, he didn't tell us, they literally said it in Twitch chat, okay? So before you come here and try to come after me for withholding information, it was in the Twitch chat, so just don't
withholding.
Always
come
withholding.
after me, all right?
Nothing changes.
But apparently it's going to be Talon the support in the jungle, and then the jungle at support, I think. That's what I've heard. But I guess maybe that's the curveball that the Snack Bears need to throw to win. I think Talon is one of the best players in the league. I'm pretty sure he can play another role and do fairly fine at it. I think it's maybe a little bit weird that they're trying to do this and not just keeping it standard with what they've always been doing. But again, maybe they just think, all right, we need to throw something at TDS because TDS is a very good team in the league. Reason why I said 2-1 for TDS is TDS legitimately have not played a series in 2 weeks. They have not played. It's been 2 FF wins. Now, I still think TDS is one of the best teams in the league, even with those FF wins. I think if they play the series, they're still winning them both. I'm not going to lie. I think it's just 2 wins. But I think they're going to look shaky in game number 1 is my prediction. I think they're going to look shaky, and I think it's really, you're really going to see them not playing for 2 weeks, take an effect on their gameplay. So I think Snack Bros will go up 1-0, but then I think after TDS, they finally get that game in. I think they're just going to run over Snack Bears and end up taking it 2-1.
Yeah, so Matt Pizza, are you in that same train of thought where TDS is just gonna roll over Snack Bears?
Yeah, it's pretty much like Clutch said, right? Like they got the 2 FF wings, so they're gonna be a little rusty, a little shaky on game 1. But after game 1, they're just gonna get everything together and uh be the TDS that we know.
Yeah, I mean, looking at these two teams, right? It's kind of like, you're seeing TD Syndicate being 3-1 right now, and you're knowing that, oh well, 2 of these are FF wins, but looking at the rest of their season, they go against Snack Bears this week, and then next week they're going against Revolution, and then they go against GNE Pearl. So I feel like going against these more so middle of the pack teams, I don't know if TD Syndicate will be able to secure themselves in the top 4, but I do know they make playoffs for sure. So my question for you then, Matt Pizza, do you think TD Syndicate makes it into that winners bracket or losers bracket?
Hmm. I hmm. I think that they'll barely make it into the winners bracket, right? And I say barely because TD Syndicate have a really rough rest of the season ahead of them, right? Like after Snack Bears, right? They're going against Revolution, and then after Revolution, they're going against I guess it's just a Revolution game, I should say. Genie Pearl, it's too early to say. I don't know if like how do I say this? I don't know if they're gonna be able to pose a challenge because we do have a new roster, like a semi-new roster of players or something, right? Clutch.
What?
All right.
New
Well,
roster for what? For
Genie.
Snack Bears?
No,
Genie?
Genie. Or are they
Uh,
running the
per-
same players?
well, Pearl has a new roster for this split compared to last season's team, but they haven't really like changed anything that much this split.
Mm-hmm. Then yeah, I could see them being in the top side of the uh bracket in the winner side.
Okay, well, then my last question for you, Para, and we're looking at Snack Bears. Honestly, okay, knowing that they're swapping players around, how valid do you think, like how smart would you feel knowing that you're the one who gets 2-0 Snack Bears, and if they actually win, like, are you just like cracked or?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this roster change might benefit them because even though their jungle was good, it seemed like their support kind of wants to play like a carry type style, and I feel like in the jungle you can play carry type style without like having to be off meta. But in support, there's like, I mean, I guess Brand, Lux, things like that. But yeah, or maybe we'll see like a spicy jungle pick, like a
Spicy?
Yone jungle.
What is spicy jungle pick
It
mean?
could be something like Yone. I don't really know, man.
Oh, I've seen
You can
Kaisa
go.
jungle before too.
Yeah, you can. I mean, I wish Camille jungle was still good, but
Yeah.
you know,
I'm sure Snack Bears would try something just like that.
yeah, we'll see. Hopefully they don't try something too off meta, but I believe in them. I think they can get the win.
Yeah, and then with that, we're looking at Snack Bears versus TD Syndicate. They actually got their match pushed back by half an hour, so we're gonna be seeing everybody at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Thankfully, they told us in advance, so then I didn't have to like rush and change my graphic. So thankfully, thank you guys for telling me. Everyone else, thank you guys for tuning in. Good luck in all your games tonight, and if you guys have time, or you're just in between break, come say hi to us on the stream, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be right here watching Snack Bears versus TD Syndicate.